The harmattan winds are finally fading away into the horizon. Taking their place are ferocious winds that are often followed by short rain outbursts that end with the same momentum they started. There has not been enough time to count the droplets of rain in the windows because the rains have been hitting hard and running down the windows too fast. However, the other day, it rained harder and the wind was hostile, blowing the curtains from their interior spruce and throwing them into the air, catching the hems and thudding them to the floor with such velocity. And then the lights went off. Motherhood. That is the exact picture the lenses in my mind took, and it has stuck as I sunk into a deep abyss of why my heart skips a beat at the thought of it. A few months ago, I joined a family procession to a funeral. It turned out to be a family gathering, and I was the topic, or rather, motherhood was the topic. You would have thought funerals are about the deceased and the impact they have in our lives, but this was different. A meeting at the feet of death to discuss the prospects of a child naming ceremony. The irony, I had never felt so alone on a topic that does not exist on its own. At least I am conversant with the cultural knowledge that there's two active participants. Otherwise, motherhood would never exist. Whether it was by design or by sheer coincidence, the other participant had chosen to be a no-show for this funeral. They say women are nurturers, and so motherhood should be an easy excursion to navigate. They lost me in the navigation because no one gives a motherhood map and tells you to start from here and follow the tracks left behind. It is almost like every part of motherhood screams, "Who moved my cheese?" 6 years as a mother. Each new year seems like I have to acquire new skills. Scratch that. 12 disintegrating years of motherhood with only a 4-year grace period of childhood. When we add the 6 years of the only motherhood that I should have experienced under normal circumstances, that makes 18 solid years of trying to raise humans worthy of societal existence. I am drained, and it has taken me so long to understand the "what kind of mother are you?" that keeps ringing at the back of my mind every time I feel I am not showing up as much as I should. Mostly, I am there in body, but in soul, I am in a distant world, a different space that is not motherhood. My feet are fitted with fear, delusion, and my eyes are constantly wet for the many times I am lost, not knowing who I really am and what I really want. It is the most difficult place to be. A few days ago, while running away from unplanned motherhood, I took in the morning after pills. Lo and behold, days later, I am clutching at a painful abdomen and a panty soaked in blood. The hormones took charge of their imbalance. We had just said bye to each other like 2 weeks ago and weren't to see each other till another 4 weeks. Here's to spending hours in the washroom because you summoned the guests before their time because you do not want another phase of motherhood just yet. And now you are the only one experiencing the consequences because the rest of the world is operating as normally as they can. This is a sinking ship. I am not sure a bunch of flowers, a glass of wine, some cake, and a card every Mother's Day is something that tickles my fancy. They in fact remind me of how grueling things are about to be. Reminders about the role of mothers in our culturally engraved society puts a trophy on motherhood to entice us to keep up with the struggle. A struggle that is suffocating a lot of us in silence. I do not know what kind of a mother I am, but one thing is for sure. I am a mother that needs help to be a mother. Oh, lights are back. Off to keep up with motherhood struggles. A heavy one to start us off. Welcome to another episode of the In All Honesty podcast. My fabulous name still is Olive Orao. I asked you earlier, where are you in the childbearing process? Are you child-free by choice? Did you have one child and said never again? Are you child-free at the moment but still choose to have a family someday, still plan to have a family someday? Do you have children or a child and still think, I want some more? I really do want some more. That is what we are talking about today. And today was heavy. I got so many responses. When I first put out the question, I did not anticipate how many people are struggling with the idea of having children, whether the decision is not having children or having had a child and not wanting one, or having had a child and then realizing that they didn't want to have a child, or having a child by choice and raising that child and having joyous moments with that child, but still admitting that it's not an easy job. So it was a heavy, heavy episode. And I'd just like to let you know that since I received an overwhelming response on this particular topic, today I will not be going through the comments that I got through my public posts. So if you'd like to see what other people had to share about their very own experiences, please go to my post on social media, that is IG, TikTok, and Facebook, and just look at the comments. Those ones are public. The ones I will read through today are the ones that I got directly through the prompt, so I am keeping anonymity for all the ones that I'll be reading, and the ones that I got through my email. So those could be the letters. So the story I just read is one person who submitted their story, and they're saying they're struggling. They're struggling. Motherhood, she doesn't particularly say that motherhood is bad, but she's constantly lost herself in motherhood. She doesn't remember who she is. She doesn't know what she wants. And I love the closing statement, which says, I don't know what kind of a mother I am, but one thing is for sure. I am a mother that needs help to be a mother. We really, yes, mothers do need help. Not an ounce of doubt at all. So I will go through all the other responses that I've gotten, and Let's see. So I did put out a prompt on my social media, as is every other week. I have told you before, please check my social media every week. Mostly I post on Thursdays, where I'll put out a prompt for what we're discussing the next week. And you can send in your thoughts and your experiences, and that's what I'm sharing here. And I'd just like to tell you that it is very important that as much as you are sending in your stories, as you are sending in your responses, please understand that you are a small piece in a way bigger picture. A lot of people just find relatability with one response where someone is like, hey, even me, I'm going through the same thing. Or this one is like me. And you have no idea how that gives someone else so much strength to wake up the next day and move on with life, because they are not going through this experience alone. It is a beautiful thing. So to everyone who has been contributing, everyone who has felt the need to share their experience, I love you so much, and thank you so much for doing it. I cannot walk this journey without you. Let me get to the responses that I got through my prompt, and the prompt was, where are you in the childbearing process, and how did you get there? So one person told me, I have one, and after I did, I realized I actually do not like kids. They are a lot, honestly. I am done. Whew. This one was a heavy one, guys. It was a heavy one. I'm trying. Another response says, I have five, 4 boys, 1 girl. I am so fertile. I've gotten pregnant on birth control twice. This one scares me. Another response says, I don't think my mental, financial, and emotional capacity will allow me to even imagine having kids. You do not see any elasticity in your economical, in your physical, in your mental space, and that too is okay. Someone else says, child-free with no plans. Oh, this is the child-free bandwagon. I am so happy to see A lot of people. I didn't anticipate there's this many people who are openly child free. I thought there's like 3. Because I know one girl who runs a TikTok on social media. I know Gadhoni, what's her name? Mudhoni, the DIY girl. I didn't think there's that many people. I am so surprised. But anyway, another response says, Nama nijikute ten. I guess you had one and you said enough is enough. Someone else says, bado tuna withdraw. Apana leta mchezo kwa dunia na hii economy. Hey, people who use withdrawal method. Yeah, can you tell us how you pray to God? Because, okay. Someone else says, hi, Olive. I love your content. Thank you so much. I am 30 years old and I have never had the desire to have kids. You'd be surprised how common that is. But anyway, we'll talk about it when I'm putting down my notes. Someone else says, I have a girl just over 1 year old. Thankfully, it happened naturally, even though I have issues. You did not go into what issues you're having, but yeah, you're grateful that it happened naturally. So I guess that's a win. A win is a win, right? Someone says, sina patience, sina pesa, niko na woga. Like mimi kukua mama ya mtu ni red flags tupu. I concur. Me as a mother is full on red flags. In fact, crimson. Someone else says, mimi hata mtu wa kunipea huyo mtoto hakuna. Nairobi kumekauka. Are you sure? Are you sure? In this very same Nairobi where we think things are not happening, a lot of people are pregnant, eh? So, yeah, maybe it's just you. I don't know where you're looking. Someone else says, I am child-free by choice. Looking at the state of the world and my collapsing country helped me. Ooh, okay, so I guess a lot of people have just looked at the economy lately, or some people just get to look at their paycheck and they're just like, there is no way. And sometimes you're thinking of it in the sense that your partner is not probably the person who will be there. And you're thinking, if I bring life to this world, first of all, I'm alone. Second, I'm trying to look at the world where this child is going to grow up and it just doesn't make sense for me. I'm looking at I'm looking at the country going to the dogs. And yeah, it's a very, very valid reason. Someone else says, no ring, no child. No child, no evidence. No evidence, it didn't happen. So I guess we are all virgins, right? I don't know what you mean by it didn't happen, but I'm guessing if there's no evidence, we can claim to be virgins, right? Right? But Mary was a virgin, and there's a whole evidence of a 33-year-old who ascended into heaven. But anyway, another person says, I was not born with the temperament to be a mother. I will damage my kids. I really appreciate people who are saying this. You understand that you will create more harm to the kid than good. And for that reason, you're holding off. That is beautiful. Thank you. Someone else says, nowhere near, cause the thought of bringing a kid in this world terrifies me. I need to heal fast from my upbringing. A lot of people are healing. And I think it is very brave of you to decide to hold that until you're in a space where you can be either a good mother, or if you feel like you just cannot be, then you can just hold it out and give back to the world in other ways. It is a very valid reason. Someone else says, waiting for a job and a spouse because economy will humble me. So I think you believe that having a spouse will ease at least the financial burden. At least you will have to share that, which is very, very sensible. Someone else says, I am one and done. I've thought about it. It's hard alone and no one will convince me to have another. So I'm guessing this is a single parent, and of course, it's not easy. I know friends who are currently single parents. They still want to have kids, but they're very, very scared because it's not been easy. And so for that one reason, you're just like, if I get to have another one, at least I need a partner who will be there. So I really do understand. Someone else says, Someone else says, I'd like to have kids later on in life, but this 23-year-old me isn't ready to, and that's by choice. I do understand. Timing is also a key thing when it comes to children. People tell you have kids when you're ready, have kids when you want them to, when you want to have kids. And timing is very important. So I love that you're very firm in knowing that I don't want to have kids in my 20s. I'll think about it later, but I am sure I want to have some. So you're still figuring out your life. Very, very beautiful. My second last answer to a prompt here says, I have one. I love him, but ain't no way I am having another. When the contraceptive fails, marriage stops. Whoever has watched up to here or listened up to here, please do not tag marriage stops. Yes, I do understand. Sometimes contraceptives do fail and you still do not want a child. You should, it's your choice to not have the child either way. Yes. So don't feel embarrassed or judged for postponing or just getting rid of the pregnancy all the same. And my last response here to the prompt was, hey. 6 weeks postpartum, nasikurahisi, where I love my little bear though. First of all, congratulations. You'll get through it. You sound like you wanted it. And I'm really just wishing you all the best. I hope you find a community of mothers who are also as supportive you can share experiences with, and you'll be fine. You will do just fine. So those are some of the responses that I got, and I'll read some that I got that are a bit longer. So we continue with this person saying, good morning, beautiful. So about the childbearing stage, I am a single mom of a 5-year-old boy, and yes, it is my utmost desire to get more kids, especially a girl. But my experience with baby daddy gives me a lot of chills. I don't trust men enough to allow them to take care of me. Yes, I have a potential who has embraced us both, but still the fear of history repeating itself. Mind you, the only problem I have with the baby daddy is being there for our son and providing. I have to push for it, and honestly, I just thank God I have a good job. Not there yet, but heading there. So there's also the damage that is caused by the other parent not being available and not supporting. And that for single parents might be difficult because then you're very scared to let someone else into your life, even if you do want a child. And I know someone who kept on telling me, it's not so much that I'm having a child, it's so much who I'm having a child with. And as I have mentioned in a response before, people just need to be very, very careful. And some people are cautious that I want to have this child with a partner who will be available and who will support. It is hard enough going to work, raising a child. Both are full-time jobs. It is hard enough going through pregnancy alone. And then you can imagine on top of that, now having to deal with someone who you were once in love with and now is just playing games because the system probably favors them and they can get away with not taking responsibility for what they have, for what they should be doing. So yeah, I really do understand this and it's heavy and I am wishing you all the best. Another response I got was, I have to comment on this one because I am 25, female. Had a daughter at 21 and I absolutely do not want another child. Motherhood for me has been difficult and has taken a lot from me, mostly mentally and also physically. The first 2 years were the worst. I cried almost daily, got depressed, lost myself. Now tell me why I would want to put myself through that again. P.S. I love my daughter. Yeah, I do understand that. So I also want, when you are probably telling your stories to me, I feel like if you're a parent and you're going to tell your story to me, please don't feel the need to emphasize that you love your children. I really do understand. It's like for parents are not allowed to have feelings. Parents are not allowed to be tired. It's okay to come and say you wouldn't do it again. It's okay to come and say, it's been a lot. I cried myself. It messed up my physicals, my mentals. It's okay to say all those things and not try and defend the love you have for your child. That is by default. We know you love your child. So I hate this idea of parents having to feel like they're apologetic for complaining. You are first human before you're a mother. You are first human before you're a father. So it's okay to share all the experiences that you're having. And you don't always have to remind yourself. I know there's something at the back of your mind, the guilt that just keeps saying, no, but I love my son. I love my daughter, but I love my children. It's okay. You love your children, but at the end of the day, yes, you are human. And all these feelings, you can communicate them without feeling judged. And I'm wishing you all the best. It's been, I guess, 4 years. If you had your child at 21, you're now 25. I'm guessing you're doing a bang up job. And continue. You'll be fine, okay? And I'm guessing your daughter will be so spoiled. Other longer responses that came in through my DMs. So someone else sent me, I have a daughter, 8 years old. Oops, baby, when I was 25 and the universe knew to give me one, then because this is something I wouldn't have done had I waited a little longer. When I got pregnant, I knew in my heart that I wanted to have that child. Otherwise, I would have sought other solutions, if you catch my drift. I know what you're saying. Otherwise, I would have, sorry, I got lost there, but it felt right to have her. She's amazing. I like her as a friend. I really admire people who are friends with their parents. Yeah. She's expensive, ridiculously expensive. I wouldn't recommend it. Childbearing should be left for people with generational wealth. I'm guessing you're giving it a 2-star. And the 2 stars are for you already have one, but would not do it again. Yes, a lot of people have expressed having children being very, very expensive. I think I only have a little peek into it from buying different, like my friends and my sisters say diapers. You're going to see them, you buy diapers. You look at the price of one pack and it's probably not going to last that week. And you're just like, what? But yes, I do understand. And thank you so much for sharing. Another response I got that was a bit longer, child-free by choice. I suffer from ADHD and depression, most of which can be passed down through genetics, as my mom suffered from both as well. Never ever am I putting an unsuspecting human being through this nonsense. Being misunderstood and never understanding why your brain just won't work. So, as a result, I had a full-on hysterectomy at the beginning of this year after talking it out with my partner. Luckily, I married an older man who already has his children and didn't want any more. Beautiful. I mean, yeah, you had it working out for you. I have had a few, I don't know whether to say myths about hysterectomy. I actually thought about it, but I was just like, girl, you're asexual. You're not even having sex until you're sexually active and you feel like it probably might be something that you want to be careful with. Yeah, but I'd like to know people who've had hysterectomies and if you have any side effects, or people who've had I know hysterectomy is when you have your entire uterus removed. The people who've tied their tubes, what's that called? I'm trying to remember that name. Tube ligation, yeah, I think. Those, if you've had those two, please just, if you can share, what are the side effects, just so we know. Yeah, it's nice to hear from someone. It's one thing to read it on Google, but it's nice to hear a personal experience. But I am so happy for you. And then what side of the bed do you kneel to pray on? Because, well, you also got a partner who's done with that job and now you two are just enjoying love. And there's a whole other topic about marrying someone who's divorced because they've already gone through their growth process and now you're getting the refined product. Another episode. I'll go to another response. Let me just try and put there's so much going on this screen. This was overwhelming. I got so many responses. So someone tells me, let me tell you, Olive, I don't like children. Okay, that's a strong way to start. I don't like children. I like my little brother, but that's just about it. I got pregnant once and I knew I didn't want to keep it, so Mary stops it was. My ex-boyfriend hated me for that and he cheated and got another girl pregnant. Imagine after it didn't hurt. I left him and I was so relieved he didn't convince me to keep that pregnancy. I might change and want kids in the future, but Sahi, I am literally scared of having a child. Not because of the economy or financial ish, but because I don't want them. Period. Girl, and that's on child free. So again, there's the aspect of guilt that comes with if you want to terminate a pregnancy because you're not ready to have that child. There's an aspect of guilt which should not be there. And I'm thinking, what if you kept that child and you didn't want that child? So now you have I'm looking for that word. You do not like your child. Your child reminds you of a bad decision, you know? And sometimes you might fall into the pressure because your partner wants to keep that child. And some people are, as you can see, the partner left and went and got someone who would give him a child. So I had almost a similar experience where I was dating someone and I don't know why they got into, because I'm very keen to say upfront that I don't plan to have kids. So it's something that you will know on the first date or when you interact with me in the very beginning. So when I was dating this guy and he decided that we are now in a full-blown relationship, like we are dating, right? I thought he was cool with it. He knew about it. We talked about it all the time and he was easy. But for this person to now cheat on me and have a child on the side and then just break up with me so easily and go and be with the woman who now has given him a child. And I was just like, I just need thorough communication. I communicated to you very early. And imagine it's not bad to leave someone because you want a child and they don't. Just say it. You can't. I think children are a very huge thing to compromise. If you want children, don't compromise and stay with someone who won't want children and then eventually not get children yourself. You will grow resentful towards this person who apparently you stayed with because of love. If again, you don't want children and the person you're with wants children, I don't know. I would feel like you should just let it go. If they change their mind in the future or you change your mind in the future, then you can come back to whatever space works for you. But in this moment, one of you is going to grow resentful. And worst be that the child who is born to this union is the one who is resented. It won't be fair. So, yeah. Thank you for sharing. That was a good one. And I'm glad that you stood your ground. And I'm liking these young people. When I was young, I don't think I'd have made decisions so brazenly. Another response I got says, "Hi, child-free babe here. I've gotten pregnant before, fresh out of campus, while working my first job and still hadn't gotten a footing in life. Same as the guy who knocked me up. I told him about the pregnancy and that I wasn't ready to raise a child and I got rid of it. It's been about 5 years since. I've gone back to school, which is time consuming and expensive. So I still feel like I'm not ready. I'm still with the same guy. And he too doesn't feel like it's the right time financially. Although I have a lingering thought, I could actually live my life without wanting a child." So these stories followed each other and I was like, wait, do you know each other? But anyway, so this is the same as the story as the experience that I just read. But in this one, it's like a beautiful space they're in. Both partners were in the same space. Both partners sat down and thought, Bana, if this one comes, they're going to suffer. They will suffer. Brother Bernard, this one. Hey. So I loved it for her that she's still with her partner who they took that decision with, because a lot of the times after an abortion, there's usually some strain on the relationship. So to see that they were still on the same page and they still have a flourishing relationship, even after that, and they still agree. The man is like, hey, but now financially, me, I'm not ready. And the girl is like, even me, I don't know. And not knowing is as good as a no. You can't say you don't know and then go ahead and have a child. There's too much at stake. So I really loved this. It was beautiful. It was beautiful to see. I love how confident people are taking matters into their own hands and making decisions about themselves and putting themselves first. It is something that we weren't taught growing up. It's something you'll have to relearn and learn how to do as a grown-up. So I love to see these stories. Another response I got, these ones are getting a bit more longer, but still through my DMs, were child free by choice. Number 1, I am a firstborn. For the life of me, I didn't like the pressure that came with that position. Made me decide that any form of responsibility ain't my portion. I am not even a plant. I'm not even a plant or an animal mom. Many times I have forgotten to eat. No thanks. Reason number 1. Reason number 2, this world is too messed up and traumatic for adults. I would be too selfish to bring a child to this world the way it is. And no, it will not get better. So you don't believe that we're going to achieve world peace? You don't? Okay. Number 3, I am okay with planning for myself, my life, and a 50K salary can work for me. I only work hard to earn more because I love the finer things in life. I hear you, girl. I don't think the uncertainty of life would allow me and another human being to share a 50K salary. Then what if I wake up one day and decide I want to try life in Mars? What happens to my human being? So uncertainty, reason number 3. Number 4, you say, if I ever want children, I'll adopt or foster, but I'm not so enthusiastic about that right now. I think this person is me somewhere else, disguised as someone else, sending me DMs. Because I am not the firstborn, but I had so much responsibility growing up. And right now, let me tell you, I cannot, even you guys who follow me on TikTok know that I don't even have the sense of strength to even cook my own food. In my adulthood now, I have no strength for responsibility at all. The much I can do is deliver at my place of work because they owe me a salary at the end of the month. But with that said, I have killed plants in this house. I have never ever thought of having a pet. I cannot even stand the fact that cats and dogs shed, and it's more of a cleanliness thing for me than even responsibility. So I'm just not thinking of having someone in my life, of adding someone in my life. She also mentions the idea of spontaneity, because I was asked one day in an interview by my friend trapped in my 20s, which is now 20s and thriving, by Becky Nyambeki. And she asked, how do you know, how sure are you that you don't want children? And for me, it was very easy. It was just like, my life is very much spontaneous. Yes, I'm never doing anything, but usually when I decide to do something, I do it in the spark of the moment. Like when it hits my mind, I do it. So most of the times I found myself like waking up, like the way I moved to Nairobi, I went to bed like a normal human being. I hadn't thought of moving to the city. I woke up to pee in the middle of the night at around 1 a.m. and then packed my bags, called my taxi guy in Eldoret, went to the shuttle center, cut a ticket, and I was in Nairobi at 8 a.m. Would I have done that with a child? I don't think so. So some of the things, there's days I've woken up in the morning and I booked an SGR ticket to Mombasa for 2 p.m. and then left the house at around 11-ish to go to Mombasa Road. I mean, so the spontaneity of life is something that I have to consider if this person, it's not so much even for me, even the child coming into this life, it's going to be a bit too rocky for them. I move around a lot. I move houses every year. I do things that are not very normal. And so I can't offer stability for another human being. I really do understand this person. I'm sorry for going into so many of my personal stories. I have so many responses still awaiting. Someone else says, I have never sat down and thought, oh, can't wait to have kids. Okay, it's in quotes, so that's why I'm reading it like that. ETC, and I am 30, mind you. If that motherly instinct hasn't kicked in by now, I don't think it ever will. Other reasons are the thought of something living, growing bigger in you day by day freaks me the fuck out. Maybe that's a phobia of sorts. I don't know. The economy, of course. Possibility of a child being born with an illness, be it mental, physical. Also, I was sexually abused when I was young. Not full penetration, just being touched inappropriately by a cousin who lived at home with us. So I ask myself, if this happened to me under our roof, I just am not sure if I can fully protect my kid, and I would die if anything like that ever happened to my kids. So I'd rather not have the child altogether. Maybe it's not a healthy reason and I haven't fully healed, but I am working on healing and that's my priority. And who's to say how long that will take? Might have hit menopause by then, but it's like whatever. So yes, I do understand this as well. 30 is not a big issue. A lot of people are sending in their responses and being like, by the way, I'm 30. By the way, I'm 30. By the way, I'm in my late 20s. Age is just a number. Nothing changes apart from a little backache and your legs aching. But nothing changes. 30 is just another number. You just live on your life. You just continue earning a salary. If you're earning a salary, you continue getting opportunities, searching in pursuit of happiness and other things that you were in pursuit of, even in your 20s. So don't be scared about 30. 30 is just an age, right? That's for me. I don't know about. You also say that you're the kind of person who's just never thought, oh, I want to have a kid. And that's the same for me. I've never just sat and thought, I'm really feeling baby fever. I saw a meme that says, I see kids and feel nothing. My ovaries are sand. My heart does not melt. The one thing I like about kids probably on social media is the funny clips. And it's like cut videos. It just makes you happy. But it doesn't necessarily make me feel like, oh, I want to have one. And I've never had that feeling my entire life. And it took me a long time and a lot of guilt where I was just like, why am I not feeling anything? And it's not like I hate kids. I don't hate anyone, actually. I just feel nothing. If you leave me your kid, I will feed them. I will watch them. I will take care of them. I will play with them. I won't hurt kids. I'm not resentful towards kids, but I just don't feel anything. Yeah, so... Another response I got says, 26 going on to 27 years. Again, I'm telling you, it's nothing. You will reach 30 and you'll still be the bubbly person that you are today. Child-free at the moment, single as well, with not even a talking stage with someone. Okay. To be honest, I don't give the idea of children much thought, more like a come velator come situation. I could be child-free for life, I could have children, and I am okay with either situation. However, I could say that as I grow older, I am more inclined towards not having children. I enjoy my peace, quiet, and really not ready to sacrifice myself for someone in the way parenthood dictates. I'm fully aware that my feelings about the whole parenting issue might change, but that is where I am, and I am enjoying my decision at the moment. This has low-key felt like therapy. Oh, I am so happy. I am so happy that you feel a load has been lifted. I feel... You guys don't know how these responses warm my heart. They really, really do. And it can be later come... as it may, So this person doesn't really think of it. Yeah, if they get a child, well and good. If they don't get a child, well and good. But right now they've probably lived by themselves. They've peace gets addictive. I tell people all the time, peace of mind is very, very addictive. And then peace of mind and solitude. If you're the kind of person who really appreciates solitude, I am yet to see if you care for a child, because and I hope you thrive, baby girl. I hope you continue thriving, spread your wings, be the happy person you are. I can tell how bubbly people are from the responses they send, and some people use a ridiculous amount of emojis. That's how I know, you're probably a very funny person. Funny in a good way, funny like me and my TikToks. Okay, so yes, I feel like you're enjoying your peace, and that's beautiful. And it's enough a reason. It is. Someone else says, I'm a mother of 2 and I wish to stop there, though the society has been pushing me to bear a 3rd child. My first child was not by choice. I just found myself pregnant in college. My second child was by choice, and his birth came with W for where. First of all, I labored for 3 consecutive days. I was tired and drained by the time I was giving birth, and so was the baby. He had drunk so much amniotic fluid that he was barely alive by the time I pushed him out. He underwent resuscitation and was immediately ferried to the ICU. There we spent the 9 longest days of my life. My baby had tubes all over his body, 4 IV tubes on his hands and 4 on his feet. I had postpartum depression and only recovered a year later. Like I said, W for where. I thank God we are both alive and he is turning 5 this year, but every time I feel like having another child, I see the doctors blowing air into my tiny baby's nostrils and the pregnancy fever dies immediately. I am not ready for another journey. I'll probably never will get ready for the rest of my life. So you're at 2 children, and the second child's birth was very traumatic. And for that reason, you just feel like you don't have the strength to go back there anymore. And I'm glad that you both pulled through. I love that your child has turned 5. You're doing a good job, mama. And yeah, that's also a very, very valid reason. Now you have 2 that you can take care of. And this is someone I know personally, and knowing how bubbly she is as a mother, I really envy her kids. They have the most fun ever. So I am so happy for you pulling through. I hope you're in a peaceful space. I hope you're content with the kids you have. I hope you grow with them and learn with them as you go, and you'll be fine. You will be fine. You've come this far. I mean, 5 years old. You've come this far with another one. There's a firstborn, by the way. So yeah. Those are all the responses I got, long and short, into my DM. Now, I have 2 letters. Okay, I had 3 letters. I started with the first one. And now there's 2 more remaining. This is going to be probably one of those long episodes again. Please bear with me. I do not like part 2, so I will put it all out for you in this first one. So I don't know what to name this one. Let me see. I'm trying to look for names. Let me name them my sister. Gertruda. No, my sister's is sexier, like it's a shortened version. But let's go with Gertruda. So Gertruda says, Dear Olive, good afternoon. I love when people start emails with Dear Olive. It sounds like a letter. It sounds like Miss Whistledown. Okay, so Dear Olive, good afternoon. I was born out of wedlock to a young lady aged 19. My mother lived with her painfully critical, conservative Christian mother, and her father was abroad at the time, so she was kicked out of home until her father learnt of the saga and returned to Kenya to return his daughter home. Although I had a relatively happy childhood, I was keenly aware of the fact that my grandmother did not approve of me, that my mother was always struggling financially to cover our bills even though she lived at home with 2 working parents, and that my grandfather was actively protecting me and himself from his wife's hostility. I am an only child, a Christian, and was assigned female at birth, so it follows that I am parentified. I have had a tendency of taking up the role of nurturing and caregiving. It started with the need to protect my mother from having to spend more than she needed to, so I pretended not to want many gifts and treats when they were offered to me by her. I also helped care for my grandfather when his diabetes got complicated and he needed assistance with dressing an infected foot before it was eventually amputated. Joining boarding school gave me a break from my grandmother's bickering, helping to care for my grandfather and worrying about my mother's happiness. However, I became a church official and the unofficial counselor to teenagers who felt that I could be trusted with their struggles and secrets. I had one of my own. I had fantasies about dying, but I didn't share this with anyone until I was an adult. Besides, Christians served a living God, and wanting to no longer participate in living made me feel ungrateful. There we go with the guilt tripping for Christians. So I buried myself in reading and writing and caring for the feelings of those who had the courage to share their personal struggles. It was at university that I found clarity around the values I espoused, including feminism and child-free by choice existence. My university roommates and her friends, who also became my friends, were also feminist. Like me, they were brilliant, loud, and proud, had daddy issues, were attracted to emotionally unavailable men, and weren't preoccupied with conversations about marriage or children. Okay, that got to me. This getting attracted to emotionally unavailable men. Okay, an episode. We'll talk about it. We talked more about music, classwork, sex, women's health, and criminal minds than anything else. It was at this time that I started to share with a few of the women I trusted that I had been somewhat certain at the age of 14 that I never wanted kids. I did not want to wind up remorseful about parenting by birth like my mother. I especially did not want to wind up like a brooding, selfish, guilt-tripping manipulator that my grandmother still is in her mid-70s. She is a mother of 5 with unrealistic expectations of her children, who still treats her sons and grandsons better than she does her daughters and granddaughters, and is incredibly lonely because of how lacking she is in self-awareness. There's so many podcast topics in this letter. Where do we toxic parents? Higher. I've gone for therapy. I've gone for therapy to help me work through my daddy issues, mommy issues, money issues, and how my childhood experiences have shaped my core beliefs around relationships and motherhood. Thankfully, I have finally made peace with the fact that all I have never had a real desire. Okay, let me start. Thankfully, I have finally made peace with the fact that all I have never had a real desire for children. I guess that's what she's trying to say. I care for the children in my life dearly and have raised one cousin like the baby brother I never had. But even the thought of falling pregnant makes me cringe, both inwardly and outwardly. I'm passionate about my work. Have been in a relationship with the same man for over a decade and own a farming project and the piece of land I intend to build one of my retirement cabins in. I'm currently studying in Europe, intend to keep engaging my wanderlust by traveling more, and have community projects I look forward to engaging in more fully once I start traveling back to Kenya. I have a soft spot for single mothers and do what I can to support the ones in my circles to the best of my ability and capacity. Until recently, my partner sometimes said that he wanted 2 children, but he would always add they were expensive and would often add that they are rather disruptive. I have long held that he thought he wanted children. I think I know what men who genuinely like and wants to father children look, behave, and sound like. He isn't one of those men, in my opinion. My partner recently asked me to explain to him My partner recently asked me to explain to him, assuming we hadn't already discussed the issue, why I am on the child free by choice bandwagon. I explained my reason starting with the fact that getting pregnant at 35 years of age came with numerous health risks, especially considering that I also have depression, anxiety, OCD, and ADHD. I recounted that every woman I know who is a mother is struggling with exhaustion in their sex life and in their attempts to further their studies and or career. I threw in the financial implications of rearing children in this economy. Why would you say rearing children as if it's chicken? Of rearing children in this economy. Lastly, I mentioned the obvious lack of desire to bear or raise children of my own. My partner now says he's leaning towards the child-free by choice movement. I can't say that I am not relieved. I'm not open to having children, and I'm willing to lose this and any other relationship if this is a deal breaker for the other party. I just want to leave, to move around when I want, travel more, plan for my retirement, and enjoy full nights of sleep and entire days of dedicated to living mindfully or lazily or whichever way I choose. Yours sincerely, Wanderlust Lifer. You're such a letter writer, Gertruda. Write me letters at random, and I'll just reply at random as well. So, first things, I see a very healthy person. First of all, you went to therapy, you're dealing with your childhood traumas. Second, I see someone who, they're having a very beautiful relationship with their partner. And that is something I was trying to say before. You and your partner meet at whatever points works for you. But if you get to a point where your partner really, really wants to have children and you don't want to have children, you have it at the back of your mind that it's okay for me to give up this relationship because I'm not willing to give up my choice to not be a parent, right? So I love that for her. And something that is also coming up in this particular situation is a lot of child-free people by choice are people who also struggled with responsibility when they were children. So you can imagine you're a child, but you can already notice your mom is struggling. So you don't ask for things. Also, you're supposed to take care of your grandparents, of your what. And that is why even when I saw the boarding school, whatever, there's a whole trend on TikTok right now where people are exposing their schools. And a lot of people are just like, ban boarding schools. And I am thinking, yes, we can see structural ways to change some systems in boarding schools, but we can't scrape it out completely because it is an escape for a lot of people. I have stated before that me going to campus was one of the most liberating things in my life. For once, I only had to think about my food. Who am I feeding tonight? Me only. I can even go to bed without eating. Okay. So for once, I had to clean my own space and not care about anyone else. For once, I was just washing my own clothes. For once, I did something and it was not for someone. I was required to do things, and for the first time, it was for myself. So schools have been liberating for people. Schools have been escapes for people who at home there was so much responsibility. You had to grow up too fast as a child so that it was easier for the adults in your life. And then there's also the aspect of a very toxic parent in this situation. So this has happened. I will not be surprised if your grandmother is actually a very staunch, like religious person, whatever religion you belong to. You said Christian. You said you were raised Christian. So I'm assuming she's Christian. And Christians are very, very keen on things that they consider embarrassment. You'll find that your mother, you're pregnant, and your mother is only worried about what they'll tell the church, how you will look out there. And they wanted the whole thing. They wanted the ceremony. They wanted you to bring your husband home and have a whole ceremony. They wanted a white wedding, and then the child comes in, and then they have grandchildren. They have a way they've put together your life. They have a textbook for how your life should turn out. And if it doesn't turn out like that, then you just face hostility in your own parents' home. And there's also the aspect she's brought up of this same toxic parent who treats the sons and grandsons way better than they treat the daughters. And this is also an entire podcast episode. Because guys, we need to check on how life is so imbalanced for girls and boys living in the same household. But that's another episode. So thank you so much for sharing this, Gertruda. It had so many layers to it. It addressed so many things that child-free and people who are mothers and people who are parents can just take it all, learn from something. It was so detailed. It encompassed so many experiences that are very important to bringing a child into this world. So thank you for sharing. You are child-free by choice. I guess it's beautiful. I hope you and your partner work out if one of you ever needs children and you have to separate. It is painful, but we are sending hugs. Either way, continue thriving. You seem like someone who's always in pursuit of happiness and the next adventure, and that is beautiful. On to my last letter. I am trying to figure out what to name this person. Let's see. We've gone with Gertruda. Let's go with Esmeralda. But Esmeralda. Yeah, all my names end with A. I don't know. Maybe beautiful names end with A. Esmeralda. Dear Olive. There we go again. A letter. I love letters. Dear Olive, let me begin by appreciating the good work you are doing with the podcast. The content is amazing and very relatable. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Esmeralda. Let's get to it. On the childbearing issue, I am turning 30 this year with 0 kids, and I have always had a feeling since I was young that I would want to be child-free. However, every time I share this, most people claim that with time and as I age, I will get to change my mind about it. Again goes the mentioning of 30 years old. 30 is just a number. Okay. Okay, let's go. A little background into my reasons. Reason number 1. While I do have a nuclear family, I was raised by my grandparents and so spent most of my childhood like an only child. This has led me to be very attached to my own space and things, and I truly feel having kids is super intrusive. In brackets, selfish much. Who else are you supposed to be selfish for? I mean, girl, choose yourself. Number 2, as a woman, I tend to think that having kids would have an impact on my career, maybe slow down my progress or come to a halt altogether. While I am not in my dream role yet, I enjoy being a corporate buddy, and I do not feel like I can balance being a parent and being a career woman. I know other women have done it and aced it, but knowing how much I hate feeling overstretched in terms of commitment, I would rather have the career, which will occupy around 40 hours of my week, and I can get the rest of the time to myself and to other lighter commitments. You have very strong, you've come to this battle with strong points, eh? Number 3, I do believe parenting is a calling and not all of us are called to do it. And there is enough evidence around us that not everyone should be a parent in as much as some already have kids. I have seen people bearing children and end up abandoning them or failing to meet the needs of the children, whether emotional, financial, or even social. I also don't believe in the mtoto hukuja na sahani yake concept. So for people who do not understand Kiswahili, that's a very famous song done by Sauti Sol and Amos and Josh, who are Kenyan artists. And basically the song says that the song is appealing to a girl who is pregnant and saying, please do not abort my child. When God brings a child with their own plate. So it's like God will provide for that child. Okay. So she's not a believer of that. I am lucky that in my family, I have relatives who are child free, and so my family never puts pressure on me to have children. Most of my pressure comes from external parties like friends and colleagues, which I can deal with. My choice to not have children has definitely reduced the number of people I can potentially date given that most Africans are socialized to get married and have kids, but I still believe it is possible to be married and child-free. Looking forward to this episode. Esmeralda! It is possible. Assuming you've come this far to now me reading your letter, it is possible. You've heard of the other people who are in successful relationships and marriages and they're child-free. So if you're a romantic, you do not have to worry. You will find someone out there for you, even if you don't want children. Yes, she says Africans are socialized to get married and have children. This is something we have discussed in previous episodes. Yes, it's like there's a textbook. You're supposed to finish this, get married, and then get children. Like, children cannot be taken out of the equation. So there's so many things that you have encompassed in your letter, and I'll just go through the very points because I think they're very similar to mine. An only child, so you're very entitled to your space. You've said children can be intrusive. I agree. The one thing I have told a lot of people, and even my friend who was here the other day, Climax with Shiro, we recorded a podcast right here in my home. She was just like, Olive, I see why you can't have guests. I see why you cannot live with somebody in your house. I am very particular. I am a neat freak. I am obsessive about cleanliness. And honestly, I've had my niece in my house for probably a day or two. And guys, I was losing my mind. I was just like, where are the fridge magnets? Where is this plate? Who moved my cheese? Yes, children are intrusive. I agree. Yeah. For people who are that's for people who mind their own space. There are people who are very, very open to just people coming into their space and being very hospitable. So don't worry. I'm also very keen. Like, my best friend was actually very surprised the other day when I opened my closet and I was like, there's a top here I can't see. And she was like, what do you mean? I'm like, I know. I have a mental register of everything that happens in my house. My clothes are folded and color-coded. If I opened my closet, I would immediately know something is missing. And I can calculate what clothes I've worn this week, what's in the laundry basket. I know, you can imagine with that sort of mind. Can you imagine adding someone to my space? Tell me if I'll not lose my mind. So it is a selfish reason. She says it's a selfish reason, but I don't think it is. Just understanding yourself. That means you might take out some of your frustrations on this child. And what you're doing is just preventing that instead of having to deal with it when it's already here. Something else that could be similar is that I have a problem with contact, skin. Is it skin contact, human contact? I do not like to be touched. And there's a friend of mine who was telling me what happens when you have a child. And at the time I hadn't processed, I was younger and I just didn't think about it. But I was just like, yeah, what happens when you actually have a child? Because children are very touchy. And I just do not like to touch people. Let's hug, let's greet. It's over. Please do not continue to hold my hand. Do not lean on me. Do not hold my... Yeah, that's how you can feel the frustration in my voice. Can you imagine now a child in my space? Not someone else, guys, sorry, I'm so used to reading responses. Her second point was that she's chasing her career. She wants to be a corporate buddy. I've met so many people who have given up on the corporate buddy life, and I am so happy that you are still there. I myself have given up on corporate buddy life because I am a creative. I like to create, and creatives just starve because man, because we are just out here creating and we don't even think of things business wise. So yeah, I'm now in pursuit of things that make me happy. They might not necessarily bring me money, but they just make me happy. So I would understand that in the sense that you have a whole career that you're working towards and you don't feel like you want to stretch yourself like that. And I do understand that a corporate body, you've even calculated it yourself. You've said 40 hours a week, and then coming back home to still find someone crying, to still try and feed someone. And then you have a weekend off. And on that weekend, you need to take someone to the park or take them for a walk. It's a bit much. And you're saying you want to be a corporate body and you do not want to stretch your elasticity that far. And I do really understand. Your third point is that parenting is a calling. A lot of Africans have not clicked this, but yes, it is. There are people who naturally like being parents. They adore they're so good at it. As much as sometimes they might struggle, they might fall sick, but you can see their whole life revolves around being parents. And it's a beautiful thing, but it's just not for everyone. And I feel like Africans should start now opening their minds to not everyone being a parent. It's very, very normal. I'm sorry that this conversation today has leaned a lot towards people who are child-free. I think something that we have to put across is that even if you wanted to be a mother, even if you have children by choice, parenting is not easy. At the end of the day, we have to, that is something we are all of us across can agree. Those who got children, unplanned pregnancies, those who got kids when they wanted and how they wanted them, those who do not have kids, those who, planned to have kids, have a kid and now do not want to have any more kids. All of us, in all our experiences, we do agree that parenthood is difficult. It's not easy. And what we are saying, for those who are parents, can they get all the support that they can get? Can parents be allowed to be human first before they are anything else? Can we stop shaming of parents? Can a parent say they're tired? Can a parent say, can I offer my kids to you for a weekend? I go and rest. Can we normalize all these things for parents? Because at the end of the day, yes, I understand. Even you right now, see, you're working a job. Who says you don't like that job? See, you go to that job every day and report and work. And sometimes you're working a job that you really, really like. Even me here doing my podcasting and covering this content and having to process all your responses and talking to you guys. It's beautiful. It's something I love. It's something I look forward to every single week. But at the end of the day, if I came and told you, today I've had a shitty day at work first. At home, there's something that has happened. I'm just feeling like I do not have the strength. Do you now tell me, Olive, you chose to do podcasting? Okay, so it's your fault. At the end of the day, I'm still human. There are days I need to podcast, but life is not lifing. And on those days, I need support. And it's the same thing with parenting. Parenting is a full-time job that no one pays you for. And as much as you wanted to be a parent, as much as you're now in that situation where you're a parent, you still need all the support you can get. Because again, children need happy parents. That's how they grow to be good people in the society. And that's how the society is bettered, by people who've been raised better. As we are here complaining we're not having children, why? Because we're dealing with the struggles, the trauma that we had. So what has happened? Due to the trauma that you were raised with, we have a whole load of people in their adulthood who are not having kids. And that was shaped by our parents. They might not realize, but they're the ones who shaped the society that we're in right now. And so giving support to parents right now also shapes the society that we'll have when we are 60, 70, whoever will make it to that point. You will have better people in the world because they had a better support system, because they had a loving, much kinder upbringing. They had a safe system to grow up in. So yeah, just understand that if you're supporting a parent, and I don't mean supporting a parent is sending them money, taking their kids and babysitting. You can support parents as easily as not asking offensive questions. You can support parents as easily as not judging their decisions. You can support parents as allowing them to parent without imposing your thoughts or what you think should be better for their children. Parenting can be supported in so many ways, and everyone should support healthy parenting. There's also been, I know we've also talked about abortion a lot on this particular episode. I am a pro-choicer. So I do not shy away from the topic of abortion. And I feel like having the choice and having that as an option is a really good thing, as we've had responses of people who've postponed their children, or rather have just decided, I don't want to deal with this right now. And I think that's a good thing, because the people who think, oh no, you need to bring life into this world, you need to, it's a wrong thing. I'm just like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Because for me, I'm thinking, I can't support this child that I will bring into this world. But there's already children who've been brought to this world and lack. They have nothing. They have no hope. They have no food. They have no shelter over their heads. There's millions of them already existing. Shouldn't we find a way of making sure those kids have a healthier, a supportive, they even have just providence, before we think about fighting for kids who we haven't even seen, right? So for me, that's my logic. I'm just like, okay, if you really, really like children, there's already children existing who do not have. We're trying to provide for those ones. And as I have said, I'm those people who cannot take up any responsibility. So I am not even thinking of adopting or being a foster parent. Never. I am not taking up any of those. I will not keep a pet. I will not keep a plant. But to support the society, to support younger children, I am willing to make monetary donations to particular, what are they called? Charity organizations that take care of children. At the moment, I am very, very happy and to support Usikimye. Usikimye is actually an organization that rescues gender-based violence victims, and a lot of times the children are affected. So just to support the safe house, to have the people at the safe house eating and all that, you send your 200 bob, send your 100 bob to Usikimye. That is, at least I'm mentioning an organization I am sure about. I won't come here and promote an organization that I don't know anything about. So Usikimye is my number one charity organization. I have it, I'll have it on the screen somewhere, and I'll also share information on the descriptions. You can also check them out. You can call them out. You can do your due diligence and verify if they're legit. This is not a paid promotion. I'm just telling you, if you need to give back to children and to people who are not going through the best of experiences as human beings, Usikimye is my favorite organization, charity organization at the moment. So yeah, if you want to support, I'll be more than happy to see your support there. Any other thing that I might have left out? Throughout this episode, you might have noticed that I am child-free by choice. I do not plan to ever have children. I still am a romantic. I do have hope that I will get love without children. In my life, generally, when I'm dealing with a partner, I usually do not see the longevity of a relationship. So usually I'm just there for a good time. If it ends, it ends. We move regardless. But in that moment, I have said before, in that moment when I'm sharing life experiences with someone, I am very, very grateful I'm in that moment. And I do not regret those moments, even if the breakup is sour. Yes, I will cry. I will feel mad. I will be bitter towards them. But at the end of the day, if I look back, I have fond memories of a time I shared with this person. So that's how I'm navigating probably romance and children. I love my nieces and nephews to death. I can take care of children. I can't play with children for long, because also I also don't have the concentration span or the energy to just play a lot. I tend to veer off and relax for some moments. So yeah, let me just check how far along we are in this podcast, where we are still going. but it's more than an hour. But you have sat through a podcast that has been longer, actually, 1 hour, 30 minutes. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for contributing. Thank you so much for coming here again to my episode 5. Guys, come on, support. At this point, I'll start asking you to tell your friends, tell everyone to subscribe, to support, to, I don't know. This far, I am so grateful. This far, I am super grateful. And I just want to mention once again, if you are watching on YouTube, you can see a setup that is set up to just give you a mock-up of how your product will look if you want product placement on this podcast. And there's always partnership opportunities. Do you want to sponsor an episode? Do you want to sponsor a season, a couple of episodes? Do you want a mention on an episode or a couple of episodes? And do you want to run an advertisement on this podcast? I will be more than happy to share my analytics and to share my rate card. And feel free to reach out the same way you reach out to me every other time. My DMs, my emails. Sometimes I am overwhelmed, but I get to each one of them, even if it's 2 weeks later. I get to each and every single response I get. With that said, thank you so much for coming to this podcast. It's been enlightening. It's been beautiful. I hope you feel the same when you'll be listening or watching. But until next time, until next week, my fabulous name is still Olive Orao, and this is the In All Honesty podcast. Bye.